Hey, Mattie.
Hi,
Good evening, my dear. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good evening to everyone that's joined us. Thank you for joining us today. So we're doing a little switcheroo. I am in a different seat today, and I have our wonderful nutritionist extraordinaire, Miss Mattie Hinson, MSN, CNS, CHC, all these accolades that Mattie has. She's also doing a double whammy because she's also a certified personal trainer with her own custom gym. She helps her clients progress to be their better selves. She's also a mom of two little cuties here joining us today. So we're so lucky to have Mattie as part of our Vocient team. It's not usual that you see a nutritionist in a gynecologist office and in a women's health office, but we really felt at Vocient and feel at Vocient that it's important to address nutrition because nutrition affects all of our lives, all parts and all aspects of our lives. And so we're so lucky to have Mattie as part of our team. I'm so happy to have her here today joining us. So Mattie, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm so excited about our discussion today.
Absolutely. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm excited too.
Oh, no problem. So, while I was getting ready for our live today, I was doing my makeup and I was thinking about how we often talk about nutrition and how it affects skin. But we often don't talk about nutrition and how it affects vaginal health and also sexual health. And, I just wanted to start with the basics for those that are joining us today. What is nutrition?
Yeah. What is nutrition? That's a huge question. So, in the context of working with me as a nutritionist, it's a lot more than the food that you put in your mouth. So, nutrition is going to be important in the context of your overall life, right? Your stress levels, your schedule, your job, your the things that you like, the things that you're doing, your exercise, all of those things are important and things that kind of impact your health in addition to nutrition. And nutrition is really individualized. So it's hard to say what is a healthy diet because
Mhm.
everyone is so different and everyone needs such different things.
Yeah, I mean, you're totally right about that, and I think oftentimes when we talk about nutrition, maybe we get a bit overwhelmed because there's a lot of information out there, a lot of really good information, but also a lot of confusing information just from the basics of what's the difference between diet and dieting, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big one. So diet just kind of have has that inherent, almost like negative connotation to it. Um, Diet is the food that we eat, right? Dieting is the process of restricting foods. So I am often telling my clients and patients that I work with to kind of reframe the way that they talk to themselves about food, about their life, and reframe their judgments. And in that respect, I refer to the diet as the eating pattern because it just seems like such a positive way to frame. So, like, what is our eating pattern? Everyone has different eating patterns rather than using the term diet.
hmm I think that's a healthy way to look at it. There's so much out there that tells us we need to be different, but maybe it's not just be different, it's actually think differently about who we are, positions that we put ourselves in, what we consume. Does what we consume make us who we are? So yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. We had a question from someone on our Instagram. The question was, how to switch from a meat diet to a pescatarian diet. Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, so this is a super context based question. Anyone I'm going to work with, I would want to know more about the context in how they're asking that question. So I think there's a lot of controversy around red meat and it being potentially detrimental to health. But we also have to remember that red meat has important sources of iron and zinc and B12, which we sometimes can't find in other foods. With that being said, a pescatarian diet and eating more fish would be beneficial in giving us more omega-3 fatty acids, which is an anti-inflammatory nutrient that we don't get a lot of. So again, I would want to know context. Is there health issues? Is there allergies? Is there digestive issues with that red meat? Or are we just trying to eat a more balanced anti-inflammatory diet? In that case, I would say start slow and just moderate and kind of try to reduce and limit that red meat if that's something that's going to benefit your health. And just try to increase that fish. One thing to think about with the fish and going more of a pescatarian type eating pattern is to consume smaller fish. So things like salmon and cod and shrimp, they're lower in mercury than those bigger fish. So things like mahi and different sharks and different tunas. So that's a kind of a vague answer, but also that's very context dependent. I want to know more about this person and exactly what benefits they would have from reducing red meat and increasing fish.
Do you have thoughts about farmed versus fresh, like salmon example? One has more fat content than the other. I think it's farmed, right? That has more fat content usually than a fresh.
Yeah. Typically, we want to reach for those wild caught fish when we can, but that's not a reason to not eat fish. So if the farm raised is the only thing you can get your hands on, then definitely don't put it completely off the table. And that kind of goes for quality for anything, right? Whenever we have the quality accessible to us, either just general accessibility or price, that's always going to be a beneficial thing. But if you can't buy organic, if you can't buy farm raised or wild caught, if you can't buy, grass fed, the conventional is still an option.
What I hear from you is balance and how balance is important, balance in what we consume, also balance in what we purchase price point wise. And so not to focus mainly on just one type, one topic, but to make sure we're varied and balanced. And that's a healthier way to live. I have a personal question I want to ask you, but before we get to that, I did want you, if you could, just kind of go through us what to expect if we were to have, someone was to have a visit with you on the nutrition side.
Yeah. So a first appointment with me is typically about an hour. And a lot of people will find it funny that we typically don't even start talking about individual food or nutrition patterns on the first visit because there's so much other information that I need to get from a patient before we start talking about that because I don't know anything about them and I don't know what type of eating pattern is going to be good for that person. So we're going to go through health history. We're going to go through their schedule. We're going to talk about a day in the life of that person. I'm going to get to know their likes and dislikes. How stressed are they? How do they deal with their stress? What's their digestive system like? Do they sleep well? All of these things we're going to talk about in the context of their life before we start figuring out, okay, this is the eating pattern that's going to work best for you and your goals.
So it's important then to find how you fit it in, like what works better for who you are and where you are.
Right.
And that way you can make it happen continuously, right?
Yeah. So no blanket, eating patterns or recommendations, no templates. It's very individualized, and that's how nutrition has to be.
Individualized, customized for the particular person, client, and patient. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because you're also considering all other body systems, chronic disorders that a person may have, or just the fact that they don't have access to certain things at certain times of the day. Absolutely. They have other family members that they have to cook particularly for. Yeah, that makes sense. My question, if you don't mind. So I often talk to patients about low oxalate diets, specifically patients with vulvodynia, because there's some literature out there that suggests that having a low oxalate diet can help to improve or decrease vulvodynia pain. So what is vulvodynia? Vulvodynia is basically a pain syndrome that occurs in the vagina due to changes in the potential for nerve endings. Nerve endings start to feel pain more than they feel touch. And so if you have vulvodynia, you know you have vulvodynia. Maybe you're not diagnosed with it, but you know you have a problem. And so there's some research that suggests that there is an improvement. Now we know that low oxalate or oxalates increase kidney stones, or there are kidney stones that have oxalates. And so I talk to my patients about this low oxalate diet. Often, if you decrease just like we're talking about, decrease one item, you may actually start having a deficiency in that item or because of that decrease. And just wanted to get your insight on that, what you thought about the low oxalate diet, how maybe it can improve, and how a person could adjust or balance decrease in oxalate in one part of their life with their metabolism.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And in the context of several different disease processes, kidney stones, etc. And oftentimes when we kind of go down the rabbit hole of eliminating foods, especially oxalate rich foods that are often very nutrient dense, we're talking things like spinach and cocoa powder, strawberries, almonds, and these are all wonderful foods to add to the diet. So oftentimes, again, like you were saying, kind of like the whole body system, we are all one system. Oftentimes it's a lot of our gut and our intestinal system that increases the risk of some of these problems. And so really working on that area and potentially putting in a probiotic that will help break down the oxalobacter bacteria can help with that. Instead of just outright eliminating or reducing foods, we can talk about increasing and putting in, and just again, reframing that and having that mindset can be a much more positive way to approach the situation. So that might be a specially formulated probiotic for that potential patient, and maybe even increasing water intake. Something as simple as that can also help.
Man, I'm so glad you touched on both of those things. So probiotics for vaginal health, really important. Water intake for vaginal health, super important. And you saying that and just is profound, because I preach it all the time. What you put in, what's in your gut's important, and how much you hydrate will dictate how your vagina works for you. And so, yeah, completely important. We talk about those supplements for vaginal health being probiotics or prebiotics. There's so many out there, so many good ones, but there are particular ones that are really good for vaginal health, just like you named. And so, yeah, I think that totally makes sense. And, I wanted to talk about just some of the supplements that can be used, period. Well, and when we talk about sexual health or vaginal health for women, and get your thoughts on those. When we talk about supplements and hormones, we have to remember that some things are cofactors for others, meaning they help the body take it up, right? So just a few minerals and vitamins that I thought of were like magnesium and zinc for orgasms, to help increase your testosterone levels or support your testosterone levels. We talked about omega-3s earlier. Omega-3s, how they maybe help increase your dopamine, decreasing starchy foods and sugary foods to decrease your serotonin, which can affect your sexual health. Just wanted to see what your thoughts were about that, those supplements and minerals.
Yeah, so you're right on the money. Magnesium is a great one. It's a huge, huge nutrient of concern for women's health, not only for our bone health, but also for our reproductive health, as you mentioned. Omega-3 fatty acids are huge. You are right on it. It plays into our dopamine pathways and can be implicated in lots of different brain and neurotransmitter issues. And it's naturally anti-inflammatory, and we tend not to get enough of it. Flaxseed is a really great nutrient too. It's a phytoestrogen and helps increase estrogen levels. So for certain people that have low estrogen, that might be something to consider. But the other supplements that you mentioned, again, very individual based as far as, amount that you would want to take and dosing and all of that. But those are wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, there are some really good products out there. Many things aren't FDA regulated, vitamins and supplements aren't, but you want to know who your manufacturer is, because then that's how you know what's in it. And so at Avocient, we carry our own line of probiotics and supplements to help support libido. And then we also carry another line from BioT, magnesium, zinc, iodine, and some other supplements. And so the manufacturers, they utilize FDA cleared pharmacies and companies to help manufacture these supplements. So they're really on the money with what they're containing. I think it's really important to know where your source is coming from.
Absolutely. And when you work with a healthcare professional like yourself or myself, we have access to those professional brands. And that is really helpful to know what you're getting and know that you're getting something that's quality, because there is a lot out there. So
if you want to make an appointment with Mattie, you can go to www.avocient.com/nutrition, our website for sexual wellness and intimate aesthetics. learn more about Mattie, what she has to offer tonight. We just got a little bit of her brain, and so happy she was able to join us. Mattie, thank you so, so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited that you're with us. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.